Ciao lovelies, it's Lunaria here. I'm just kind of doing my day-to-day stuff. Water check, although mine is juice. Mine is strawberry pineapple juice, so... Also, if you want to be able to drink out of these easier, take the little... There's a thing on the inside made out of like rubber. Take that out of it, and then you can drink out of it easier. So, this isn't really an unstructured vlog, it's a slightly structured vlog. I don't know exactly what to call it, but I'm just showing you guys some fun stuff in my agere life, because I told you guys before, but I am a KIDULT and a lifestyle regressor. I think my max brain age is like 20, not 20. I mean, currently, biologically, I'm 25. But I think in terms of where I get in my mindset, I think I'm still around like that max, like 13 or 14. I don't mean emotionally. Obviously, I go to therapy and stuff, and I make sure to be emotionally responsible. So being kid at heart, KIDULT, doesn't mean that I'm, emotionally, wrecking people's lives, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people get the idea of immaturity when they think of a KIDULT or a PERMA regressor, and the idea of immaturity is like, in what way? Because some aspects of it are positive, right? And like some aspects of immaturity, like the lack of care regarding judgment towards you, or at least a certain level of lack of care, or maybe spite towards the idea of care, right? That's good. That's a good aspect of immaturity, but perhaps aspects like not caring about other people's feelings or being thoughtless towards others, those aren't positive. And that's, I think, what people think about when they think about someone being a KIDULT or, PERMA regressor, is I think there's this idea that the person is irresponsible, or there's the idea that this person is like, their life is gotta suck or whatever. And for some of us, it's a coping thing, for sure. For me, it's a little bit of a lot of stuff. For me, I've always just been very childish. I've always been very young for my age. I have a lot of weird interests, and I've always been just more focused, more interested in things like dolls and toys, and I never really understood a lot of adult concepts either. Like, that's the other thing, is like being childish doesn't mean you don't have intelligence either. Like, you can be intelligent, and still have a childish mindset on life, where you still, find joy in small things and enjoy things that maybe typically wouldn't be seen as adult things that would be enjoyed. Long story short, I think there's a misunderstanding that PERMA regressors have to be bad people to be a PERMA regressor, because an aspect of being childish is being emotionally irresponsible, and I think that's just not a proper equivalency. God, I'm sorry, this is so much words. God, this is so many words, I'm so sorry. Like, I know what I'm trying to say, if it helps. Okay, I know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, all that is to say that my life as a KIDULT is not that much different from, I think, the average person's life, in terms of most aspects of it, right? So, like, I have a spouse, obviously, I have my husband, and he's very supportive of this. Now, granted, I can't speak for everybody, and so maybe that would be a different aspect of people's lives, but because of the fact that I developmentally get up into the teens, and me and my husband actually started dating when we were 13. So now, of course, it wasn't like since we were 13 onward, like it's like an on-off thing when we were in high school and college, but of course now it's not off, because now we're married. But the thing is like, I think that's also an aspect of it that varies from person to person. For me, it's a unique circumstance, but I don't know if the idea of being a spouse is in the cards for everybody who is interested in, letting themselves be KIDULT, right? And then there's this other aspect of it in terms of coping, like I said, that I think is just sometimes you do it because of reasons that you know, it might be hard for others to understand, and sometimes it's easy for others to understand, but then you don't want to be infantilized, and there's a very, you know, it's a whole complex issue. But in terms of my life, my day-to-day life and everything that I do, I think I'm pretty similar to most people. So, I typically try to get up around when my husband gets up, if not like an hour after he does, because typically I get up around like 7 or 8, and then I do chores for the most part. I start off the week by meal planning and grocery shopping. I do drive. I don't drive as often as I did before some of the schizo-something symptoms started to take over, but I do drive about once or twice a week, and I drive to the grocery store. I do the grocery shopping all by myself, and the grocery list making by myself. I come back and, you know, put away the groceries, tidy the kitchen, do the dishes, the laundry process I start on Wednesdays, and then, you know, other things like taking care of Boo and doing, you know, just general household tasks, you know, litter boxes, making the bed, you know, putting away the laundry, folding the clothes, vacuuming the floors, just things that everybody does. I have a chore chart. That's where things start to differ. So things start to differ from a normal human, that sounds weird, from a normal person to a kidult. Where it starts to get really different is around the fact how I remind myself to do things. I have a chore chart. It's dry erase, and it is, right now I need to update it because I haven't, but it's on the wall. It's next to our calendar. We have a calendar in our room as well so that we know what's upcoming, we know what we're doing. But I have a dry erase chore chart, and I have a list of daily chores that I do that are things, you know, that are things that everybody does every day, like brush your teeth every day, and shower every day, and take your meds every day, and then, you know, things like do the dishes, and clean the litter box, and feed Boo, and like, you know. And then I have my weekly tasks. Grocery shopping, meal planning, laundry are typically weekly tasks. Scheduling appointments or having appointments are sometimes weekly tasks. And then things start to differ even more when we get into the way that I choose to spend leisure time. I think this is the biggest distinction between kidult and normal adult lifestyle. My leisure time is, I don't care to do things that are like, I mean, sometimes I'll do things that I guess like normal adults would do, quote unquote. Like, I like to play video games, and I you know, I live with 2 adults. I mean, other adults, my husband and our roommate, and they both play video games. So like, I think that's a pretty normal thing nowadays for adults. And of course, like, I cook our meals. I cook dinner every night, except for one night, which every so often, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's been pretty consistent, but just about like one night a week we'll do burgers, and that's hubby's domain because I can't do that. But so anyway, all that is to say, yeah. So I do cook, and I'm able to use things like I'm able to use the oven or air fryers or other appliances. So my functioning, I wouldn't say my functioning is impaired by being PERMA regress. Not at all. In terms of functioning around the house. More complex functions though, I don't necessarily know if that's from the regression or if that's from me just being me. Like, certain things have always been difficult for me to conceptualize. Virtually money is difficult for me. So like, if it's in front of me physically, like if it's cash, I don't have a problem managing it because I can see it and it makes sense because it's real. With banks and stuff, I tend to get confused more easily because I don't know, it's very difficult for my brain to conceptualize the fact that those are real things, you know? And I'm not sure if that's like, you know, a general thing that happens to everybody or not, but most of my leisure time is basically, I like to play with toys, and I don't mean like for a productive ending, because I think a lot of people as adults feel the need for everything they do for fun to make something or to have a justification. that's not typically just enjoyment. Because, and maybe this is just an unemployed adult thing, because that's the other thing, is that I don't work, although that's more about my mental health issues than anything. But that's the thing about that, is like, I often feel like I get trapped in this way of thinking where I feel like everything I want to do during my like rest time or my downtime still has to be productive. And so because of that, you know, I think a lot of people gain hobbies. I think a lot of adults, their hobbies fall into these categories of exercising, possibly crafting or making money in some other fashion, and then like a hands-on thing, typically something that possibly has to do with your health or your activity. And then typically people also do one that's like brain off. So like a lot of people find themselves in a rut that I've heard of: TV, going for a walk, video games, or playing, you know, or okay, so like, this is not a call out post, this is just life, alright? I've seen a situation, I'm not going to get into it too far, but I've seen a situation where it's like, you are in the same cycle and you don't let yourself do things that are deemed weird by other people, because at that point you think that it's not okay. And so I've seen people get into this weird rut where it's like, here's my 3 activities, one of them is going to exercise somehow, like on a walk or whatever. One of them is like watching a certain sitcom, and then the other one is just like playing a video game, or maybe something like a little more hands-on, like God, I don't know. I've seen like the Warhammer models, although that one's a little bit different because that's starting to get less stigmatized now, which is good, because I think before people thought it was very childish, and that got stigmatized with the rest of that stuff. So now it's seen as more common, I think, for sure. But like something of that sort. So like 3D printing, or God, I don't know, something that's like still a passive hobby, but it's like quote unquote productive. You see what I mean? But I think that because people fall into this way of being, they forget that they are allowed to be, sounds so weird, people forget that they're allowed to be useless. And that sounds so weird, but like, a big aspect of regression, I think, that is why it's so helpful for people, is the feeling that you don't have to do something. You don't have to be productive. You don't have to create something. There's no big expectation on you. If you're regressing, most of the time there's a disconnect from responsibility. And it's nice. And I mean, like, it doesn't have to be that way, though. And I think the way that kids view responsibility and the way that adults view responsibility is super different. And I think that causes a lot of stress. I think the adult mindset towards responsibility is, this is something that I have to suffer through. Sorry, my baby's screaming. Baby kitty. Boo kitty, come on. Come here, Goblin, come on. My sweet girl. Come on, baby, come on. She forgets that I'm home. After Pumpkin died, she's lonely. We're all still really sad about it, actually. Come here, Goblin. Come here. Come on, come here. Let me see you. She said, Mother, I don't know. Thank you for the sweet blanket. No. Okay. Sometimes she likes to smack me around with her. Oh, there she goes. Just so you guys can see what I'm talking about and know that I'm not crazy. You see her? Yeah. So, okay. I'm trying to limit my talk videos, so reeling myself in, yeah, I think the mindset towards responsibility is different. I think adults view responsibility as a martyrdom. I think adults view responsibility as a chore, as a, I have to do this and I have to suffer. I have to grit my teeth and I have to be miserable, because that's what everybody does, and we all have to be sad about it at the end. And I think children don't do that. I think the reason that the regression lifestyle, or the reason that regression in general is soothing for people, is because it changes that mindset away. You're putting the childlike wonder back into the idea of responsibility, and so you're going from I have to clean this room because people will judge me, and I'm miserable if it's not clean, and and it's gonna suck, and I'm pissed. I think a big part of regression that makes people calm is that mindset goes from that into, hey, you know, I can turn this into a game, or, you know, I can daydream while I do this, or I'd like to make my space clean, and then, you know, I'll do this other stuff afterwards, or just a completely different feeling towards tasks. I think tasks, if you're gritting your teeth through life, why? Why are you not doing something that you like? At least for a little bit, right? A little bit of it. I'm not saying, you know, it all has to suck. I'm just saying, I'm definitely not saying it all has to suck. I'm saying that it's, if it all sucks, something's wrong, you know what I mean? If it all sucks, seek something that brings you joy because you need it. Like, that's important. That's the topic of the next video, apparently, because I'm doing these talk series for some reason, and yeah, because I have a lot to say, I guess. Apparently. Alright, anyway, I don't know if this is gonna go up at all because I keep doing this, and I think this is the second time I've done this where I don't think I'm gonna post this, but hey, now I'm talking.